Bienvenidos a un nuevo episodio del podcast de Salón de Idiomas. Y bueno, aquí tenemos una nueva versión. Now, finally people get to see our faces and how we do this. And they can see the microphones.
Perfect. Hi. Very good. Hi, you guys.
So, not only are we going to start using this video format, since you got a really fancy microphone.
Oh, thank you, by the way. Yeah, I'm really... Yeah, keen on using it and talking to it.
Yeah, kind of like its purpose, right? Kind of using it how it's supposed to be used.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, yeah.
Okay, so now stop beating around the bushes. What are we going to talk about today, too?
Okay, yes. So today I brought the topic of the writings that can appear in the exam EOI, in the English exam, of course. And yeah, it's a bit tricky, right? So I thought it would be a great topic to speak about.
Well, I mean, I didn't consider that it was going to be that difficult. You know, it's just like writing and, you know, you just follow the rules. Oh, you have to write an article. You have to write an essay.
Yeah. But there's the gist. Yeah, the gist is that unfortunately, it's a bit difficult to figure out exactly what writing you should have to compose.
Yeah, since for some reason these people are so keen on the word composition, and that's pretty much it.
That's great. Yeah, that's it. So it's like, yeah, please write a composition. You have this number of words, and the topic is this one. And it's quite, you have to rack your brains to realize what kind of composition you're supposed to write.
Yeah, so, well, I guess that even if, I know, like since it's only composition, can we come up with our Franken composition and write just whatever crosses our minds? Since like, I don't know, like write a composition about this and just
I think not exactly, you know, it's not just, it's not just writing whatever you feel like because you have to write a composition. Honestly, so I have taken a look at several statements from the exam, especially those statements when you're supposed to write a composition. And as far as I could see, I guess that the candidates are asked to write either something similar to an article or something similar to an essay, probably like a discursive essay, which is not exactly an argumentative, typical essay, if you like. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's extremely clear. Thank you. That makes total sense. Of course.
No, imagine you're not supposed to write those two and you have to write something different. That would be like, oh my God, Salón de Idiomas is the one to blame. I was supposed to write a composition. I did this and I failed. No, but honestly, I believe that either articles or something similar to an article or something similar to a discursive essay might be the closest kind of types of writing for this kind of weird composition you have to cover and do in this exam.
I see. And what about letters? Do we get to write some cute letters?
Quite a few letters indeed. Yeah, so there are quite a few. Same thing, right? So it's like sometimes you're required to ask a letter. However, you better make sure that you do the task completion properly because you might be asked to write, I don't know, so depending on the statement, you'll have to figure out whether it's a letter to the editor, for instance. So if you're asked, like, you read an article about this topic, but you disagree with it, and you want to give your opinion and your arguments, so it's most likely it's going to be a letter to the editor, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be a complaint letter. Mind you, even though you don't agree with the statement that you read on a specific article in the newspaper and you have to write a letter regarding that thing, it's not a complaint letter, okay, which follows a different structure. So that might be like a letter to the editor, which is pretty common.
Right. I also, by the way, besides the letter to the editor, I saw something that actually drew my attention. It was that you have the cover letter and the application letter.
Yeah.
Aren't they supposed to be the same thing?
Well, yeah, that's funny because they're actually the same. Like the meaning is used, the name is used for both types. However, it's not exactly the same thing, because cover letters should be for this, kinds of letter that you write when you submit your CV for a job position. That's a cover letter. And you have to give arguments on why you will really be suitable for that post, for that position, right? Whereas an application letter, which is actually pretty similar, I will use it more for this kind of letters if you want to apply for a specific master's or specific university studies, or you know what I mean. So it's not in Spain, we are not used to that though.
Yeah.
But in other countries like the UK or the US, when you apply for the master's, you have to sell yourself as if you were actually applying for a job.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has seen that in the movies. Like, I would like to go to this university since I am the greatest person. This has always been my dream and all that.
Yeah.
However, let's try to make it a little bit less childish, I guess.
Yeah, no, but still, so that's the gist, is what you said. And that's what we actually make a difference in our EOI courses that we provide, okay? So in our EOI courses, we give like structures for the different kinds of letters you may encounter in this specific exam, because no matter how specific EOI exam is, the variety of letters you can encounter is like a whole plethora of different writings. It's a bit difficult, but we give structures for an application letter, we give structures for a cover letter, and we make sure that you know the difference between those two.
Great. Okay. And for instance, like the easiest way to differentiate one from the other is like you are trying to enter the Cambridge University, or on the other hand, you are trying to apply for this really fancy job or something along those lines?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So what actually makes the difference between those two kinds of letters is to whom you're addressing. Okay. Firstly, it's like not the same, the company, the university you might be addressing. Of course, in the exam, you kind of fake the name unless they give you like to whom you have to speak to. Okay. And then whereas for a job position, you talk about your qualifications and your expertise, your experience. For an application letter, you focus a bit more on your studies, right? And of course, some personality traits, or what really draws you towards wanting to do that specific master's, for instance.
Got it. Okay. Now that makes even more sense. Okay. Now let's try to explain something that is just a little bit more complicated, which is differentiating not only the fact that it's a composition and then you have to understand that it's an essay, but also what kind of essay can you stumble upon?
Yeah, right. So there are like as many essays as you can figure out. I mean, it's such a huge, long list of different essays there are out there. Now, I usually, how do I put that? I try to make it simple. Mm-hmm. And I usually speak about 3 kinds of essays, okay? So we have the typical essay, which is the one you might be more accustomed to, which is the argumentative essays, like pros, cons, and your opinion about that, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, that is a kind of an essay, but doesn't necessarily mean that all the essays are like that. Then we have the discursive essay, which focuses a bit more on different standpoints. Okay, now mind you, it doesn't mean that all of them are going to be advantages and disadvantages, right? They might be just advantages.
Got it.
Right? So you can have an essay just talking about the pros and the silver linings of a specific topic. But what makes a discursive essay discursive is that you analyze different standpoints by different experts, and then you reach a conclusion by giving, it's like you ponder a bit to see which, who might be a bit more closer to the truth, okay? And your opinion is not strong. So you basically make like a summary and a bit of a way up from what you've gathered in your essay, but it's not a strong opinion conclusion like you might do it in an argumentative. Okay, so it's just pondering what the expert said and whether that's good or not, okay, by avoiding the word good and bad.
So it can boil down to on the one hand, you have this essay that is kind of like just the classical pros and cons, or just pros or just cons. And then you have the other of like the defenders and the ones who are against whatever idea. And yeah, like finally you try to perhaps convey who's right.
Who might be right, yeah. And whether they, but most importantly, in a discursive essay, you have to you have to come up with a solution. Okay, so you kind of give a conclusion and you come up with a solution to the main idea. Okay, because in the essay, you're supposed to, like in the introduction, you expose the matter and you say that there are many ways of exploring this issue. And you explore the issue by giving different standpoints and arguments by other people. And at the end, you have to make sure that you kind of solve the issue after analyzing those standpoints.
Got it. Okay.
And I told you about the argumentative, the discursive, but we also have the descriptive essay.
Nice.
Do you think it's easier?
Well, I'm just gonna go with our motto of practice makes perfect, I guess.
Yeah, well, honestly, descriptive essay is a bit easier because you just talk unbiasedly about a topic, like for instance, I don't know, the history of glass or the history of technology, right? So you just cover different things, but without actually giving pros and cons, giving your opinion, talking much about experts. You usually give figures, statistics, data, and that's all. But it's formal, so it's not like an article which is semi-formal and you can get more different.
Yeah, it's a little bit more straightforward rather than coming up with an analysis of the entire thing.
Indeed,
we're just providing data until we're out of it, and that's pretty much
But this brings us to the other question. What's the difference between a descriptive essay and a descriptive story?
Okay, so what is it?
Okay, so in the exam, you can also be asked to write stories, okay? And those stories could be narrative and could be descriptive, okay? So there is a big difference between a descriptive essay, which is a bit of a science-like kind of writing, and a story which is just focused on a specific moment and on some specific feelings. And, like experience you go through in a specific moment. Okay, so for instance, a descriptive story might be like telling how you felt for the first time you went to the dentist.
Okay,
so you don't actually give facts or many facts. You just focus on how you felt, like the scare you felt and how frightened you are and how your heart was beating a lot. So there are like some specific features. We also give you the course some specific features and you need to know, you have to use no matter what in a descriptive story. And when it comes to descriptive essay, it's just a science-like composition.
Got it.
Composition, okay?
Composition.
And it's without any much feeling and whatever.
Got it.
And then if you have the narrative story, you have to focus a lot on the facts, okay? So there the actions take over. And you better be knowing how to convey the story through the different actions, action verbs, and the transitioning from one action to another with these, like the adverbs you have to use and
also the use of tenses, right? Like there are some points, even though that you're talking about a previous event, there are some points where you end up actually using like present tenses. Like, then I just fell on the stairs and I know that my entire face is swollen. Kind of like that?
Yeah, definitely. So tenses play a most important role in a story, in a narrative story. And another is a key aspect to I would say to a story, no matter whether it's narrative or descriptive, is the direct speech. So there's always gonna be like a sentence, which is gonna be, like a direct speech you give. It can be sometimes a dialogue or just a phrase, whatever. So
Got it.
imagine we were saying about like the first experience going to the dentist ever, and you make it descriptive by saying what you felt, and your heart was beating fastly, and you were starting to sweat, and sweat dripping down your face, whatever, and you thought, out of the blue, you thought, why am I here? So why am I here is going to be a direct story, direct speech that cuts a bit the way you've been narrating your feelings.
I thought you were going to be a little bit more dramatic, and
Like-
I thought, this is it.
This is the end, my friend. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so that's it. So we have such a plethora of different kinds of writings in an EOI exam. This is usually for the long kinds of compositions, but for the short compositions, which is usually like the 130, 150 words, oh gosh, you have so many different kinds of writing. Some of them are even more difficult to figure out. But I'm going to be like really short. However, guys, we have like a full article on our blog with the possibilities of different kinds of writings. But long story short, you can have a blog entry. Yeah. You can have like a forum, or answering to a post on a forum, or you can have an information sheet. Careful, because that's like easy as pie, but if you don't understand the concept, you may make a
So yeah, definitely.
an information sheet. Yeah, sorry for
Yeah,
that.
no worries. So even though that you might feel like you are really good at hitting the books, don't do this overnight. Just
That was a nice
definitely
review.
you definitely need a little more than one night to prepare for this. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so it usually takes longer to be able to write everything accordingly. And that will be it.
Okay, well, that's pretty much it. So is there another kind of piece of advice that you would like to give us?
Like really get used to the different typology, like different types of writings. Know what you have to write, and make sure that you follow those structures carefully. Just because you understand the topic, it doesn't mean that you're gonna complete it perfectly if you don't follow the typology you should be following. Okay, so just like really be mindful with that.
Yeah, I mean, you can start with simple things like, oh, this is formal. Okay, no contractions. I should use a couple of inversions. Oh, this is informal. Then perhaps a couple of idioms would be useful, and so on. So yeah.
Okay.
But well, great. So this is like the first time that we're doing this in a video version. Isn't this also exciting?
I hope we were okay, right?
Yeah,
So if you like it, guys, just should we say hit the subscription button?
Sure, of course. Like the one that is below or something like that. Also, you will also have the audio version of this on Spotify and all these nice platforms.
Okay, very good. So thank you as usual, and
well, I'll be back in a second to explain the whole thing.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Okay,
so
well,
bye.
Bye. See you in a moment, guys. Hola, y aquí estoy de regreso y bueno, ya que me dejaron solo, incluso el camarógrafo. Y sí, por cierto, este es nuestro primer podcast en formato de video. Voy a, explicar un poco el episodio de hoy. Bien, en esta edición, Rox y yo hablamos de la parte del writing de la Escuela Oficial de Idiomas o EOI y nos centramos, sobre todo, en los tipos de writing que pueden surgir en la segunda tarea, que es la que hay que escribir redacciones más largas. Y es que resulta que la producción escrita es particularmente difícil o tricky, ya que aunque en teoría hay que escribir los articles, essays y letters de toda la vida, lo cierto es que a veces nos podemos encontrar con que en el enunciado nos piden redactar una composition, así, sin más. Un poco ambiguo, ¿no? Bueno, es que esa es la trampa. Solo se nos da el número de palabras, el tema y ya, a escribir nuestra composition. Algo que sin duda hará rack your brains o quebrarnos la cabeza, como dice Rox. Así pues, no es tarea fácil lograr cumplir con lo que se nos pide el ejercicio porque, lamentablemente, no podemos salirnos con la nuestra y crear un Franken composition o composición Frankenstein y mezclar distintos tipos de redacciones en una sola. En realidad, lo que más se entiende en estas composiciones es que hay que redactar un artículo o un ensayo discursivo, que, cuidado, no es lo mismo que el clásico ensayo argumentativo. De nuevo, tampoco es que esto sea de lo más revelador, pero es lo que más se asemeja a lo que se pide. Por otro lado, también nos encontraremos con las cartas, pero, de nuevo, it's complicated, ya que tendremos que estar atentos para identificar qué tipo de carta tenemos enfrente. Por ejemplo, si nos dicen que hemos leído un artículo acerca de un cierto tema, pero que no estamos de acuerdo y queremos dar nuestra opinión, lo más probable es que tengamos que redactar una carta al editor, y no una carta de queja, que tiene otro formato, y es más en respuesta a un servicio del que no estamos de acuerdo. Ahora, algo que llama mucho la atención es que también nos pueden salir cover letters y application letters, que aunque parezca que son la misma cosa, tienen sus diferencias bien definidas. Por un lado, las cover letters son cartas de presentación que acompañan un currículum, y no hay que escribir su currículum en el examen, thank God. Pero estas cartas sí que pueden aparecer en un Writing del EOI. Las cover letters se utilizan en la vida real y se adjuntan al currículum a la hora de mostrar nuestro interés por un puesto de trabajo. En ellas explicamos por qué somos buenos candidatos para el puesto, es decir, we brag about ourselves, presumimos un poco. Por otro lado, la application letter está enfocada en el aspecto de la educación y se suele enviar a la competencia educativa cuando nos queremos apuntar a un master's o título universitario específico. En este tipo de carta mostramos nuestro interés por este curso en concreto y mencionamos nuestros estudios previos, rasgos de la personalidad, etc. Es cierto que en España no es una práctica muy común, pero en el Reino Unido y en Estados Unidos es prácticamente obligatorio. Seguro que lo habrás visto en alguna película, o por lo menos los de la EOI la habrán visto. Por eso las incluyen como la posibilidad de tipos de redacción en tus ejercicios de writing. Así pues, en nuestros cursos preparatorios de la EOI enseñamos a identificar lo que nos requiere en esta prueba y proveemos estructuras útiles que se pueden utilizar para cada tipo de carta y, en general, para cada tipo de writing. Y sí, corregimos los writings con el mismo ojo crítico que los evaluadores de las escuelas oficiales de idiomas. Por otro lado, y siguiendo con la tipología del writing, tenemos los ensayos disfrazados de composiciones que, como habrán adivinado, it's complicated again, y que en la lista de tipos de ensayos es bastante larga, pero Rox boiled them down to, o lo resume, en 3 tipos principales de ensayo. Primero, tenemos el ensayo argumentativo, del que muchos estarán acostumbrados. En este habrá que expresar los pros y cons de un tema en concreto y dar la opinión al respecto. Segundo, está el discursive essay, que se enfoca en analizar distintos puntos de vista, pero no quiere decir que sean pros y cons. De hecho, puede que solo sean las ventajas o solo desventajas, o simplemente las perspectivas de alguien sobre un tema en concreto. Pero lo que lo hace discursivo es que se analizan los puntos de vista de diferentes expertos y se concluye diciendo quién estaría un poco más cerca de la verdad. En este ensayo la opinión no es muy contundente y hay que come up with o encontrar una solución a lo planteado en nuestra introducción o en el enunciado del ejercicio. Y tercero, nos queda el descriptive essay, el cual, luckily, es más sencillo, ya que en este tipo de composiciones hay que explicar unbiasedly o sin sesgos un evento o un concepto. Aquí no tenemos que ahondar en aspectos positivos ni negativos o dar nuestra opinión o la de un experto. En su lugar, es probable que expliquemos algún gráfico, probemos algunas cifras o mencionemos algún dato, siempre de manera formal y neutral. Pero aún nos queda la pregunta: ¿cuál es la diferencia entre un ensayo descriptivo y una historia descriptiva o descriptive story? Y es que en el examen nos pueden pedir escribir una historia que puede ser narrativa o descriptiva. Veamos la diferencia. Por un lado, tenemos el ensayo descriptivo, que tiene un enfoque más académico o científico. Por otro lado, la historia descriptiva se inclina más a describir momentos concretos, sentimientos y experiencias por el que tú o el personaje pasan,
Cosas como cómo te sentiste después de ir al dentista por primera vez. Aquí podemos hacer uso del dramatismo y hay que procurar hacer énfasis en las sensaciones. Por otro lado, en la historia narrativa o narrative story, el enfoque se centra más en los hechos y en cómo ocurrieron estos junto con verbos de acción e incluso adverbios de tiempo y lugar. Es importante acotar también que en cualquier historia hay que hacer uso del direct speech, es decir, mencionar una frase en estilo directo. El estilo directo es aquel en el que se reproducen las palabras exactas de los personajes. La forma de introducirlo puede variar, bien utilizando rayas de diálogo o comillas. Vamos a poner un ejemplo. Imaginen que estamos describiendo nuestra primera visita al dentista y metemos la frase que al narrador se le cruza por la cabeza algo como ¿por qué estoy aquí? Las frases en estilo directo ayudan a cortar un poco la forma en que narramos una historia. Rox acaba diciendo que quedan muchos tipos de writing que pueden salir en nuestro ejercicio de producción escrita del examen de inglés de la EOI. Como en este capítulo nos centramos en analizar más los tipos de reacciones del segundo ejercicio, es decir, de la redacción larga, Rox añade que en la primera tarea, en la que los writings son más cortos, nos pueden pedir escribir un blog entry o un forum post, entre otros. Como podemos ver, los tipos de writing de la EOI dan para otro capítulo de podcast y, sin duda, la primera tarea del ejercicio de writing se presta para otra conversación interesante. En fin, hay muchas composiciones que tendremos que aprender a producir y aunque sean muy buenos hitting the books o hincando los codos, es tanto material que los animamos a que nos sigan para más capítulos. Recuerden que hay que entender bien lo que se nos pide en el examen y hay que practicar la redacción de writings con las estructuras enseñadas, sin perder de vista el uso de elementos de use of English y fórmulas decorativas clave y seguir de cerca los criterios de evaluación. Todo esto determinará tu resultado final. Por cierto, en nuestro blog tienen muchísima información muy detallada sobre la tipología de writings y más aspectos fundamentales del examen de la EOI. Así que échenle un vistazo. Y bueno, ya eso sería todo por hoy. Yo me despido y espero que les haya gustado. Si así es, por favor les sugiero que den un botón de like y bueno, si quieren se suscriben al canal, así como también nos pueden seguir en las otras plataformas como Spotify o Google Podcast. Y bueno, nos veremos en otro episodio. Así que bueno, take care. Bye.